Happy New Year. Happy New Year to you and to your family. I'm so glad that you've chosen to start 2023 with me, Lori, here at CBD YOU. I'm so thankful to all of you for the great start you gave me at the end of 2022. I'm here today to help us to get off on the right foot for this year. We've had some sketchy years the past, 2-3 years. With an uncertain future still looking at us in the face, today I want to give you my top 3 steps to making 2023 the best year ever, no matter what the future may bring. These 3 steps are foolproof. They will help you to be on the right grounding, the right footing, to face anything that comes your way this year to make this year the best year ever. So let's get this new year started right. Come on. What's up, my friend? Welcome to the CBD YOU podcast. And yes, you means you, and I believe you are here for a reason. I'm Lori, a Christian, a wife, a mama, and a midwife. And to put a little icing on the cake, my husband and I own a hemp farm in Tennessee. Girlfriend, I see it in your eyes, and I feel it in the messages you send me. You are tired of waking up every day exhausted with aches and pains that you really thought you were too young for. And with all the stress and anxiety of the day, you're over it. Are you starting to wonder if this is really all life is? I hear you, and you are not alone. God did not design us to just survive. He designed us to thrive. So if you're ready to embrace this beautiful life God has given you by discovering some of His best gifts for His children, rewarm that coffee you forgot about in the microwave, and let's take a minute to pour back into you with a quick chat and some me time. Let's go. So you have probably figured out by now, if this isn't your first episode, that CBD YOU is about CBD, no doubt. But that's not all I'm talking about in this podcast. I am trying to help you find a well-rounded lifestyle so that you can have full health. And that's the goal for this podcast. I want to help you to have full holistic wellness in your life. And I want you to see how CBD may fit into that picture. But that's just one piece of this puzzle. It's been, Christmas and the holidays, and me and my family have been doing a lot of puzzles. And it's interesting to think about the life lessons you can learn from a puzzle. There are just so many pieces that you need to complete the picture. When you first dump them all out, they look way bigger than what they're going to end up after you have fit them all incorrectly, and it looks like an impossible task. Some are harder to figure out than others because sometimes the picture's very clear, sometimes the picture's not very clear, and it's very hard to figure out where everything fits because of the way everything tends to blend in with the landscape. You can't really tell where one thing starts and the next thing stops. Isn't that just how life is? The devil hides the good stuff and makes it hard to fit it all in the right way. The pieces are out of order. They just won't fit. There's one puzzle we did where there was a piece that looked like it was in the right place, and I couldn't make the rest of it fit. And it was very clear where this particular line had to go, but I couldn't get it to fit right. And it's because I had one piece out of place. It took me a while to figure that out and get it into the right place. That's how life is. Sometimes things get just a little out of order, and we have to figure out how to get them back where they belong. Our bodies are like that. They're not one-dimensional, so we need to look at the whole body and what each system needs for the whole to function at its optimum. So these 3 steps I'm going to give you today are going to help you to have all of the pieces fit in correctly, no matter what this year brings. And if you get in the habits of having these 3 in their proper places, they will help you and work for you years into the future. So let's get started. Number 1, and I'm sure this won't surprise you if you've listened to any of the episodes before now, but our number 1 focus has to be on our faith in our Maker, in the Lord who has given us everything we have and has made us who we are. We need to keep this focus, and we need to refocus regularly. Another example, as I'm recording this, it's actually snowing outside, and we've had some very, very cold temperatures to where our pond has frozen on our property. And my kids have walked down there with my husband, their daddy, and they're trying out, seeing if they can walk on the pond. Well, I was trying to use some binoculars that we've been using for the last several days, looking at all the birds and all the animals that we see around here. And I had to refocus them. We just used them today, and yet they were a little bit out of focus. Even though we use them all the time, the focus changes, and sometimes they can get bumped and things can happen to cause you not to be able to focus properly. So The same goes for our faith. We have to refocus. We have to make sure our focus stays in line. I'm sure, all of us at some point in our lives have made New Year's resolutions. They just don't tend to work, do they? It's very hard to make a change just because of a time of year. It's the mentality behind the change that you need to have in order for it to be successful. The list of your failed resolutions, think back to why they didn't work out. Think back to what caused you to get out of focus on making them work. Anything we're going to change in our life, if we're going to want it to stick, if we're going to want it to work right, it's going to have to be based on a foundation of faith, because that's who we are. All faith beings. That's who we are. Even if you try to deny God in your life, you're always searching for something, and that something is a God-sized hole that he fits in. And he's that piece that we have to have in its proper place, or the whole picture is not going to ever develop properly. Now, as you're working on developing this step to focus on your faith better, I want you to realize that faith is not something that happens in a vacuum. And what I mean by that is faith is a journey that will not ever fully develop by yourself. So one of the top things I can recommend to you to make this number one step a reality, a lasting resolution, if you want to use that term, is to find a congregation of the Lord's church that preaches the Bible truth every Sunday, unapologetically, without fail, near you. I think I might have offered this in a past episode, and if I haven't, I'll offer it now, that if you ever have that need, you need to find one of those congregations, and you can't find one, message me. I'll do the best I can to help you find one, unless you happen to be close to me, and then of course I can help you. But if you're distant from me, I'll still try to help you the best I can. I know lots of people in lots of places, and I want all of my listeners to find that root to tap into, to be a branch of, because without that root, if you're not attached to that root, the tree, the church, you can't grow properly. A branch that's cut off and tossed off, it dies. We're not to have this faith walk alone. We need other Christian brothers and sisters to help us along this path, because it's just too hard to do by yourself. Find a congregation, and at this point, I'm going to warn you, it might step on some toes, because this is a very touchy subject, but in retrospect, I think we can say that it's very important that you find a congregation that will not abandon you if the government tells you to go home. You want to find a church that the doors are going to be open on the Lord's Day, that the leadership is strong and willing to face that adversity, because you don't want to be halfway through this year and find something has come up that they're now telling us that we need to not be gathering together with fellow Christians anymore. We've seen examples of that happen in the not too distant past. Make sure that when you choose that congregation, that you find one that is strong and willing to stand for truth. Now, a lot of what I've said so far kind of goes for people that are maybe new to finding faith in God. If you're a person who is not new to that faith, I want you to remember that the word tells us that faith without works is dead. So I want you to think about your life. Does your life prove your faith? Because those two things kind of work in tandem together. You know that when you do good for others, that feeling you get, that strength that you get from it, the strength that you get in God, because you know that God has provided for you and he has made it possible for you to do good for others, it improves your faith. It strengthens your faith. It increases your focus. So if you are not new to faith and to loving God and worshiping him, make sure that everything in your life is proving that your faith is real. At the time of me preparing this podcast, I actually heard a quote in the background that fit right in with what I was writing. It said, "If you don't live out your faith, you're either calling God a liar or you think there is some safe third religious way." That's said by Eric Metaxas. I don't know if you know who he is, but it was a pretty deep quote for you to think of. And so I'm going to end that point on that quote for you to just kind of marinate on that and think about it. And that brings us to number 2, which is to be focused on the right priorities. Priorities being putting first things first. We often hear people say, "I don't have time for this," or "I don't have time for that." Well, we make time in life for the things that are important to us. Okay, every single person in this entire world has exactly the same hours in their day as you do. Every single person has exactly 24 hours. No one has more, no one has less. But we can see by the fruits of their labor that some people maximize that time and some people waste that time. Some people have a lot to show for how they've used those 24 hours each day, and some people not so much. Now, that doesn't mean that a person who has worked themselves to the bone is doing a better job than people who are wasting time, because there is a balance. And part of maximizing that time is making sure that you're putting in the time for your wellness and your health and getting rest and getting proper nutrition, which we're going to talk a little bit more in a minute. But prioritizing the things that matter most, family, God, well, not in that order, God, family, and work in that order. Putting first things first will help you to stay focused throughout this year and every year to come, so that you are getting the things that matter most done first. And if there's extra time, you can do the other things. But when you put God first, your family second, and work next, everything's going to work together perfectly. It seems like, wait, why would you put work after family? Well, the work comes in support of the family, but the work should not come before the family. It shouldn't be more important than the family. And what I mean by that is working 2 or 3 jobs to supposedly support your family, when really for most of us in this country, it's usually just to support a lifestyle. Most of us, and I know there are some that do have to work 2 and 3 jobs just to survive, but let's be honest, most of us are not in that position. Most of us could do some cutting back and have more time to spend dedicating to our family. So that's what I mean about getting those priorities in order, making sure that you are putting your family before the endless hours of work. I hope that makes sense. I hope you understand the heart of why I'm saying that. I'm not trying to criticize anyone. I'm just trying to help people to, again, refocus, focus on the right priorities, focus on putting first things first. Number 3, and this is our last step to having the best year ever in 2023, nutrition. And basically all the things that you're putting in your mouth to eat, to nourish yourself, to all your different, supplements, medications, all those kind of things. That's what I mean by nutrition. Okay. I think I've talked about this in another episode. I know I say that a lot, but sometimes it's hard to remember where I say things. But if you put good in, good comes out. Bad in, bad out. So if we are not focusing on putting the right things that God gave us to nourish our bodies in, we're not going to get good results out in any aspect of your life, whether it be your work, whether it be your family, whether it be your exercising routines. If you're not giving yourself good nutrition, you're not going to have good results out. Okay. And I did touch on that a little bit in some other episodes. I know we talked about gut health in one in particular. That matters so much because everything in your health, everything in your immunity is tied to that gut health. So there are other episodes I want you to go back and listen to if you haven't already, so you can learn a little bit more about the details of having that proper nutrition. The choices you make in your nutrition have more impact on your health than pretty much anything else. They can either help you feel good, have decreased inflammation, be of a healthy weight and body mass and things of that nature, or they can make you feel bad, have an inflammatory feeling, just always feeling achy and bad. They can impact your sleep. There's just so many things that our nutrition impacts. So we need to make sure that we're putting good whole foods in. I've touched on it before. Organic fruits and veggies, preferably grown by you if possible. Bread, real bread made from whole organic grains, preferably that you grind yourself for the maximum nutrition. And I've touched on that before, and I know I haven't really gone into it yet. I hope to in the future. But if you want to learn a little bit more about that, I highly recommend a podcast called Sue's Healthy Minutes. It's by Sue Becker from Bread Beckers not Atlanta, Georgia, but in Woodstock, Georgia, just north of Atlanta. It's a great place to go if you want to learn more about what I'm talking about there. But hopefully in the future, I'll have a chance to touch on that as well. Make sure you're getting plenty of sleep, of course, and enjoy the blessings that you have and be content, because all of those things, the contentment is what really brings it all in focus. If you're always wanting something that you don't have, it's hard to be content. It's hard to be happy with your body, with the things that you are maybe have available to eat and things of that nature. So enjoy and make the best of what you do have. I know that can be hard sometimes. In the last episode, I did talk to you a little bit about the endocannabinoid system, and we talked about how it helps to balance your body, how it makes CBD work. So if you're having trouble, maybe you're hearing this nutrition step and you're thinking, I just feel so bad. I mean, how am I supposed to do these things? I hurt. I can't sleep. She keeps telling me these things I ought to do, but I can't make them happen because I just feel so awful. I would love for you, if you haven't already, go back and listen to that last episode about the endocannabinoid system so you can hear how CBD works and how it can improve these things. And then if you're ready to boost these systems, if you're ready to boost your endocannabinoid system, to have that balanced, prosperous, focused new year, if you're ready for that, if you're tired of feeling so awful, if you're tired of hurting, if you're tired of being anxious and stressed all the time, if you are tired of just not getting the sleep you need, just feeling out of whack, I want you to go to bit.ly/CBD and you show, bit.ly/CBD and you show. And I want you to get this year started right. I want you to put in your cart one of those CBD oils. You can choose your strength and your flavor, and there's some guidance on the website about how to choose your strength. Get it, put it in your cart, check out, make sure that code is there. It should be from that link, but if it's not, put in the promo code CBD and you, and it's going to take 20% off of anything you put in your cart, and I'm going to get it in the mail to you just as soon as I can, hopefully either the same day or the next day, depending on when your order comes in. And you will have one of the best things you can have to really boost your body's balance and its nutrition, because of all that the beauty of the ECS, the endocannabinoid system, brings your life, okay? Number 3 was to focus on wellness, not just nutrition, but wellness. And I want to help you to do that. So be sure to go check that out. We still have a couple of the bottles left on our big special, kickoff special of 20% off. So go to bit.ly/CBD and you show right now. Don't put it off because we don't have that many bottles left at that price. So you're going to want to be sure you get over there before they're gone. Get this year off to a perfect start, having balance, having that endocannabinoid system that God has given us to give our bodies the balance that He intended us to have to, for lack of a better term, roll with the punches. It's a system designed to help your body bounce back after trauma. It's a system designed to help your body manage inflammation. It's a system designed to help your body have proper sleep balance. There's just so many beautiful things that God has given us in this substance that grows on these wonderful plants that we call hemp. So add that to your wellness this year. You're going to, number 1, focus on your faith. You're going to, number 2, focus on your priorities. And number 3, you're going to focus on your wellness. And this can be a small piece of that overall puzzle that can just make things fit just right. If you do these 3 things, if you're able to get them into the habits of your day-to-day life, these 3 things, without fail, are going to help you face anything that comes. If you've got your focus on faith and you know that God is in control of it all, it's real hard to get too scared. It's real hard to get too thrown off track by whatever may come, whatever government may tell you is important or whatever they say you should or shouldn't do. It's real hard to live in fear when you are the daughter of the one who created the entire world. It makes it much easier to deal with life. And if you can get that number 1 priority, that's going to help you no matter what comes. If you have your focus on your priorities, if you look around and you look in the eyes of those kids or your family and you know that that's why you do it all, you're going to be okay no matter what comes. If you are healthy and strong and have wellness, you're going to be able to deal with what comes because your body's going to be functioning at its best. So keep these three steps in order, and keep these 3 steps in each day of your year, this year and years to come. And you are guaranteed to be able to have the best year you've had yet. Don't let people throw you off track. Don't let the devil get in there and mess you up. Don't let him have that power. When you're focused on God, your priorities, and your wellness, your overall wellness, he can't knock you off track. He can't. And remember to refocus every day. Don't just think that, oh, I got it. I've arrived. I know what I'm doing now. Come up with a system, maybe with some signs in your home, certainly reading the Bible each morning, reading His Word to remind you of His omnipotence, His omniscience, His omnipresence, that He will always be with you. He's with you wherever you go. He knows everything you're going through, and He is going to provide for you what you need. Remember that. Focus on that every day. And this year, 2023 is going to be the best year that you have ever had. Now, one big thing to think about as we head into this new year, you have friends who are struggling. You have maybe sisters or your mom or whoever that is having a really tough time this year, and you're afraid that maybe they're going to have another bad year. They need a little help getting refocused. I want you to take a minute and share this episode with at least one friend who you want to have a better 2023 than they had a 2022. Someone who's looking for a change, needs maybe just a little spark to get them in the right direction. I want you to get a link of this show or maybe do a screenshot of this show, send it over to them, and help them to start anew this year, just like you're going to get a new start. And maybe you guys can even do it together, because that accountability will really, as you know in life, anytime you have accountability with other friends to help remind you of the things that you've committed to, it always goes better. So share this with a friend. You guys can do this together, and you can lean on each other for strength when it gets tough. But keep these priorities, these steps in order, and you are going to have the best 2023 ever. I thank you so much for starting this year with me, and I look forward to lots more opportunities to spend time with you here on the CBD YOU show throughout this entire year. I'll meet you right back here next Monday. Y'all have a great week. Whoa, wait, stop. I need your help. Before you take off, if this podcast has blessed you in any way, or if you learned something, could you take 1 minute and leave me a written review over on Apple Podcasts? That's the absolute best way you can thank me. I love hearing how what I've learned on my journey has helped you on yours. Remember that the Word says every good gift and every perfect gift is from above. CBD is one of them, but there are so many more. Cling to Him and you will never go wrong. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you back here in a few days.